What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. What is going on? Welcome to the Week 14 edition of Matchup Points here at FantasyPoints.com as I roll up my sleeves and get ready to dig into the upcoming matchups here, starting with tonight's game in Detroit. We've got a couple of fields, as always, Brett Whitefield and Graham Barfield, our guy Tommy T-Bone on the other side, getting it all done, keeping us on the air, keeping us on the YouTube. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Throw us a bone if you haven't done that, by the way. Give us a good comment, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We don't give a rat's ass. All right, let's get into Green Bay at Detroit. So I just made that up right there on the spot. That's not bad. Brett, you are Mr. Detroit Lions. Talk about the impact of all these defensive front injuries, D-line injuries, real quick. Start there.
Yeah, obviously a big deal. Lions defense has been balling out all year, despite a lot of these injuries. But at a certain point, it's just going to hit a wall, right? Like we can't. I would expect this to look a lot more like the 2023 Detroit Lions defense, where you might have to rely on a shootout game to win this one. And if I'm gun to my head, if I got to go with a team to win in a shootout, I'd take the Lions offense over anybody. So probably not the end of the world for them. It's just not going to look the same as what we've seen for the first 12 weeks here.
Seems to be the kind of the consensus, Graham, that it's going to be a higher scoring game. You know, I mean, we can get into individual players, but it's like a start 'em if you got 'em game. Maybe ancillary guys like Watson and maybe Jameson are fringe players. I kind of like them both here, especially Watson. What stands out to you?
Yeah, Watson and Wicks both lead the Packers in targets against man coverage. And why is that important this week? Well, the Lions play more man coverage than pretty much any team in the league. It's a good spot, but I think there are better receiver plays on this slate. I like Jaden Reed a little bit more. Lions have been a little better against slot receivers, but they still are a slot funnel.
Yeah,
Jaden Reed had a great game against them last week, and I'm kind of with you on Jameson. I'm a little lower on him. Packers have played basically zero man coverage. It's absolutely wild. They played zone 88 and 94% of the time over the last 2 weeks with no Jari Alexander. Expect them to fully do that again this week, which means it's an Amon-Ra St. Brown game. Anytime he's facing this much zone coverage, it certainly looks like a great game for St. Brown. I want to get Brett's thoughts real quick before we switch games here on Laporta. Laporta, I think, is the kind of the trickiest play in this game. Like Packers have not been good against tight ends. His involvement has come up. Brett, what do you think of Laporta here?
Yeah, I mean, I read the tea leaves. Dan kind of gives us an injury update on Laporta every week, and it wasn't until going into that Thanksgiving game where Dan said, "Hey, he's finally healthy. He's been dealing with the ankle. He was hurt all camp." So I think you're seeing the fruit of that. The involvement's getting there. Now we just need a big game from him, right? To I guess prove that theory out. But I think this is a good spot for him. I do like JMO a little bit. I know you don't. The only thing I really seen here since the Lions bye week, Goff's targets JMO a lot against too high. 32% first read target share there against too high coverages. Green Bay plays a lot of too high, like 54% over that stretch. So I think that's it's not a great spot for JMO, but I do think there's evidence to suggest he'll be very involved in the game plan here.
I mean, Packers do run cover 3, cover 2, 55% of the time. He's got good numbers against that. To me, it's one of these, both teams are similar in that, like, guys, it's an analyst's nightmare because you just can't get it all right. Like, not everyone is going to eat. Like, last week I liked Laporta. I played the prop, lost the damn prop. Dude scored 2 touchdowns. Same thing happened with Jaden Reed. But if there's one guy that clearly we have things to point to that's looking worse, would be Kraft, Brett, don't you think? They play a lot of man, and they're good against tight ends.
Lions have been awesome against tight ends. What they're I have the number here. I just have to find it. 4th fewest yards per reception and fewest fantasy points per game allowed. So some of that is the slot
base defense. What is that?
Yeah, they play a lot of base defense, but their linebackers are really good in coverage. And then Brian Branch is an X factor. He's been primarily responsible.
Awesome.
They play so much man. He's going to come up and play against a tight end. You're probably not throwing that guy the ball.
Right. That's it. That's the answer right there. Well, I think we could move on. Again, start them if you got them. I went weird with my props, by the way. Timmy Patrick, baby, over 24.5.
Wow.
I theorize, Brett, that it would behoove the Lions to get him going a little bit because he brings some length. He's got a little dimension that no one else has.
Yeah, they freaking love him too, man. Like you hear the way everyone talks about Tim Patrick, they love him. They're going to try to get him a touchdown this week or next. I think that's on top of their mind. I don't know if you've noticed too, but Goff has kind of been trying to do a little bit more out of structure lately. It's kind of crazy. He's got a couple read option carries, some scrambles, and throws off platform. Well, Tim Patrick's been his dude on scramble drill. When he breaks the pocket, that's the guy he's looking for, and they have this really nice chemistry. So I actually love that prop. I think that probably hits comfortably.
You know what I'm in on, and talk about like gut feel guy. I'm the gut feel guy. Jordan Love rushing touchdown, baby. Anytime touchdown, it's like plus 475. I could see it, Brett. You know, they play a lot of man. The injuries, the kind of offenses. I could see a design run or two. Am I dreaming there? I don't know. I kind of like it.
If it's going to happen, I would say it would have to be in a design run. Jordan Love has shown no interest in scrambling or breaking the pocket since the injuries. Really, he's been very cautious with that knee. So
I do think he's looked the healthiest I've seen him. It's a projection. Like I have not seen him. I think I said today, my opinion, he looks healthier as he's been since kickoff in Brazil, week 1.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. I also like the over. I think it's 5.5 damn yards. To your point, it's a very low number. 5.5 yards. But I mean, come on, we got a 51.5 total. We're gonna get some dropbacks. Lions don't have a great pass rush, but which could help, for a little while. Not gonna get swarmed over, that's for sure. Extend some plays. Let's move on to the Jets in Miami. And I'm looking through some of our notes, and the Jets have been playing a lot of man, Brett, but maybe not here, although teams aren't afraid to play man. But in theory, this could be a Tyreek game, but I believe the Jets in their last game played a lot of zone, which would be a little bit more Waddle.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're seeing more and more teams play man against Tyreek and Waddle. They're not scared of these guys anymore. It's like too high man, though, so it's very much contain them, have a guy in phase, and have a guy over the top. But, I think if it's going to be zone heavy, Waddle, he's kind of been warming up a little bit, right? So I think that screams in. Tyreek looks checked out to me, too, guys. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. He's lost his mojo. He's like Austin Powers. Where is my mojo? I mean, he's lost it. Graham, anything pop out to you in this game?
Yeah, it's two things. It's one, the offense has just completely changed. Obviously, this is going through design reads to Achane, short targets to Jonnu.
Right.
And two, Tua just doesn't have any answers to too high. He is only throwing deep against too high 2% of the time. This guy was top 5 in deep ball rate 2 years ago against too high coverages. Last year was at 10%. He's top 12. They were just like not even trying. His average depth of target against too high coverages is 5 yards. Jets last week with Sauce Gardner hurt played too high 60% of the time. Miami is always near the top in terms of how they get played, as Brett kind of alluded to, even seeing some traditional cover 2. All this to me screams Jonnu again. Jonnu leads the team in first read targets, 28% over Tyreek Hill against too high. He's just absolutely on fire the last couple of weeks. And, Tua, man, he's dinking and dunking. It's working. It's piling up. The fantasy points are piling up. But I just think this is another good Jonnu spot here.
Yeah, and, what are you seeing out of Breece Hall, Brett, on tape? Because he looks not good, basically.
Yeah. I think I said it in the company chat. What, week 2 or 3? Just the juice doesn't look like it's there anymore. Yeah, that burst, man. It's everything's tedious with him right now, and that's not a good spot to be when your offensive line stinks.
Yeah, I did not see that early in the season, Graham. Did you? My dog did. I don't know if you can hear my dog. My dog Wrigley. He's like, yeah, man. You didn't see that week 2? Brett and I were all over that.
Yeah, Wrigley was listening. Yeah, he doesn't have the burst. I thought that, I think it's really just he's not healthy. I mean, the explosiveness in his second season last year was Adrian Peterson like, and he's basically just been reduced to a grinder. And last week his snaps got cut 61%, season low snap rate. Miami's played good run defense, y'all, like really good run defense as of late. I think we might get a mercy benching, let him get right, see some Braylon Allen this week because he's still not practicing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Graham, like, what would you rather have? Let's say you have Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. Breece Hall plays, or Breece Hall is inactive and you just roll with Braylon Allen. I think I'd rather have the latter.
That's where I'm at too. I have this in pretty much every league. I have Braylon Allen where I have Breece, and I'd rather have Allen this week for sure. I mean, Breece, he's probably going to roll out there and try to play again, but it's probably not going to go well.
Actually, I'm converting it. Wrigley's asking, what about Garrett Wilson this week? And
does he bust a slump here?
Devontae Adams. I thought Adams was not looking great going into last week, Brett. Yet he looked better last week.
Yeah, for Adams, it's all about chemistry, and I think it took him and Rodgers to get back on the same page, and it looked right last week. Right. It's still a mess, though. I don't like talking about any of these guys, man. It's
I know.
I mean, Rodgers is just not playing well. I mean, Garrett Wilson's catchable target rate is 75%. Adams is 65%. I mean, that's like Desmond Ridder level stuff from last year with the Falcons guys. Seriously. I mean, Rodgers is it's not been good. That's since week 7, by the way. Since they added Adams, he's just gotten worse. So, I mean, to me, these guys are, the volume's been solid, but it's just Rodgers. You saw it last week. He's missing throws. These guys are open. And he's missing.
Yeah, again, it's like me playing softball at 46 with 20-somethings. My brain thinks I can do things that my body just no, you can't, dude. Also, I mean, Achane has been really good in when they're leading. I don't think he'll catch a ton of balls like last week, but I think the Achane, obviously. I mean, is there anyone else a factor in the backfield? Like, that's kind of weird, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they'll mix in Mostert and Wright. Brett, you mentioned it last week. The Jets fixed the run defense, and they were awesome again last week. They did really, really well against Ken Walker. They have not allowed an explosive run in 3 straight games of 15 or more yards. So, yeah, this definitely sets up for another spot for Achane to just get peppered with targets. But yeah, man, he's their guy. McDaniel said it basically after like week 2. I always go back to this quote, John. It's been like stuck in my head. After Tua got hurt, he was like, "Yeah, we still want Achane to get the ball more. He just earned more touches. That's all he's ever done is earn more touches."
Yeah, I hear you. Let's move on here. As my damn dog keeps barking. It's like I'm here home alone. The dog's barking. I hear sirens in the back. I'm like, great. I think we're good. Atlanta Falcons at Minnesota Vikings. Did Darnell Mooney practice today? Graham,
he should be fine. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, good schematic matchup there for Mooney. It's fine for Drake London as well with the 2 high looks, but 2 high has been Mooney. It's not Pitts. Our stat guys have pointed out that the Vikings give up a lot on zone concept, so a pretty decent schematic matchup for Bijan, even though overall it's a tougher matchup. The real question, Brett, is can Kirky Cousins deliver, basically, or is he washed? I mean, this kind of feels like a big game for Kirky in a revenge game.
It was the worst game I've ever seen him play last week. It was truly bad. But I look at other games this season, even week 1, he was terrible, and then beat the Eagles in week 2, laid an egg against the Seahawks at home, and then the next week threw for 400 yards against the Buccaneers. So I don't know, man. It's very up and down season from him, but it was so bad last week. It's hard to have a lot of confidence in him, but
yeah. But I mean, it's not that bad that you're bailing on the receivers, though. Like,
no.
Yeah.
Especially because just the Vikings' tendencies, they're good. They're okay with giving up big plays here and there too, because they're going to create enough chaos elsewhere that it's going to end up favoring them in the long run. So,
yep. Go ahead, Graham. What do you got?
Yeah, no, this Vikings defense is. I was just to echo what Brett was saying. It's just I mean, it's like almost like the perfect matchup. I mean, Ravens, Jags are probably worse secondaries, but the Vikings are right there.
Yeah.
And everything's so condensed here. This offense is just running through Bijan. I thought it was super notable. They came out of the bye, loaded him up with 32 touches. I mean, Falcons over the last 5 weeks, only the Colts and Eagles are more pass heavy, or excuse me, more run heavy than the Falcons. To me, this is a big spot for Cousins. It's a revenge game, but this offense is running through Bijan now. And we're loving that for sure for fantasy. That's for sure.
With some London in there, though. I mean, London, he was pretty active last week. It's not like Ray. I guess he's had a couple moments, but Mooney's not done all that much. And of course, as we know, it's the Minnesota Vikings. So
yep,
we're starting high end wide receiver ones against them, like we did with Marvin last week. Speaking of high end number one receivers, a lot of zone in Atlanta. Jefferson's not phenomenal. It does seem like, and Kevin O'Connell said this like about 3 weeks ago, like he's never seen a receiver get the treatment that JJ has gotten, which kind of adds to the legendary status, in my opinion, because he's been so damn good. But, I guess not that great against zone. Addison and Hawkinson. I could see this being a Hawkinson game here, Brett. How's Sammy playing, though? It seems like he's hanging in there and this is who he is. It's not perfect, but it's not bad.
I still think he looks terrible. I thought he
looked
I thought he looked really bad against the Cardinals. My big issue with him is he has no idea when he's hot. So if you're going to blitz and line up extra rushers, my man has no freaking clue how to get to the right protection. He took 3 sacks last week. They're just absolute head scratchers.
Panic attack. He has panic attacks.
Yeah. I think the zone thing with Jefferson, by the way, is more of a function of Darnold. Teams are just rolling extra coverage defenders that way, and he panics. He doesn't want to fit the ball into the tight window, which good on him. I mean, he stopped throwing interceptions because he's not forcing it, So that's but Atlanta, though, they don't really do that. They don't do anything special with their coverages. I haven't seen them really roll heavy to outside receivers at all. In fact, I think they're giving up like 75% completion rate to receivers lined up on the outside, which is disgusting. So I think maybe it's a get right game for Jefferson, but I kind of like, everyone in the Vikings pass game this week.
The Falcons have allowed the 5th fewest receiving yards per game on deep throws, traveling 20 more yards. That's a good stat, but I mean, Jordan Addison could slip by the defense at any moment, and it could be hit. Kind of a start him if you got him game for the most part here. Certainly solid matchup for Aaron Jones as well. Move on to New Orleans at the New York Giants. I kind of like this game. Brett, Alvin Kamara, worst run D in the league. Second most adjusted fantasy points per game to opposing runners over the last 5 weeks. Have the Giants given up? Kamara's prop is way up there, so I'm expecting touchdown, 100 yards for Kamara.
Yeah, Kamara's kind of quietly having a ridiculous season. Looking at like offensive player of the year voting, he's not even, I think he's like the 6th guy listed that's not a quarterback, which is ridiculous. He's got like 1,300 total yards already.
Yeah.
A crap ton of receptions. But yeah, I love him in this game. The Giants are giving up 154 rushing yards per game over their last 5. A league worst 9% explosive run rate. They just put Dexter Lawrence on IR, who's probably the best he's the best nose tackle in all football, was a defensive player of the year candidate. And then now Taysom Hill's gone as well. I think Kamara just absolutely shreds this defense.
And Graham, speaking of shredding, it's MVS time once again here. The data is pretty damn outstanding.
Yeah, it's like Jesse Pinkman. He can't keep getting away with it, but he keeps doing it. Like he did it last week again, man. He got the long touchdown, and this is an amazing spot. Giants have given up a 71% completion rate on throws of 20 or more yards. It's the highest in the league by far. And he keeps playing more. Last week, the routes came up again, 80% route share for MVS.
Yeah.
Brett, you just mentioned it. No Taysom Hill really helps Kamara's goal line volume, but it also helps MVS's volume. It helps, Juwan Johnson, who had a little bit of a pulse last week, John. How are you feeling about Juwan Johnson? Because you were the skank tight end master. You can't do it? Okay. All right. Yeah, all right. That's all I need to know.
Derek Carr and the Giants, they've been good.
Giants are the best, basically the best defense against tight ends. It's like them or the Lions.
Because we know what happens. We're going to back them. If we did, and it's time for the Isle of Moreau, Foster Moreau. He'll score. I got nothing else here on these damn Saints, by the way. Like, I'm not delving into Mason Tiptons of the world and Ced Wilsons. I mean, it's Skank City over there. How about Malik Neighbors? Brett, I was shocked. Maybe I didn't stare enough at the schematics of it, but I thought the Rams would kick the Saints' ass last week. What the hell happened?
Yeah, I don't really know either. Cooper Kupp does not look right to me. Obviously, we'll get to that game in a little bit here, but he doesn't look right to me. And then Puka just can't do it all. Alontae Taylor's an underrated corner. He gets beat up a little bit in man coverage, but man, he's got really good instincts, really good ball skills.
Yeah, he's always been pretty good. He was their slot. Now he's outside, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But man, Neighbors, his target share is still like 33%. It's ridiculous. So
yeah, they fixed that was a little bit of a squeaky wheel. They fixed that quick. 45% first read target share, I think it was last week. Whew, really good.
What do you think of White Trash Bo Nix, aka Drew Lock? Just kidding. I don't know why that kind of popped into my head. It just I made myself laugh. I just take a look. I'm like, you know what? He looks like White Trash Bo Nix.
The only people who won't like that joke are Broncos fans, John, for obvious reasons with Lock. That's a great one.
Yeah.
I mean, stream Saints defense because he's got like some Winston in him where he's just like, he just degaffs at moments. It's great. It's great for fantasy because he just speeds up games, but
he runs.
Yeah, he'll run a little bit. I think, he runs less than DeVito and way less than Jones, obviously. It's a good thing for Tyrone Tracy dump offs, if we want to go there. It's a good thing for that. Tracy did get a couple dump offs last week. Ran way more routes than Singletary, so that's nice.
Yeah, and by the way, Theo Johnson showed a little chemistry there with Locke, and now he's done. So I don't know. Does that mean a little Wandale, a little Tracy, perhaps?
That's about it. Convinces targets. It'll get Wandale back involved, though. I bet Theo's looking good. That dude can run. I'm going to draft a ton of him in best ball league like next year. I know it.
Does anyone have any thoughts on Malik Neighbors in this one?
His role's just so good. It's hard to get the role.
All right. That's what I thought. All right, let's move on to Carolina, Philly. Now, here's another kind of more of a gut feel. I just for whatever reason I'm thinking skinny Batman here. At the very least, I love his prop. I think it's low. It's like 47.5. Now I know that there's some conflicting thoughts here. I know Hurts. I mean, they'd love it if he threw it freaking 12 times. And then the single high looks, I guess, are not great for Devontae. Any thoughts there, Brett?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time trusting him with just coming back from the injury. The Eagles' pass rate over expectation is lowest in the league.
Goddard out though. That helps.
Yeah, Goddard's out. I think it could be a low volume game. I don't think the Panthers compete well in this game either. So I think it just continued to be the Saquon Barkley love fest.
Oh, for sure. Graham, the Barkley prop. I mean, I don't know. Was it bet up to like 200 yards in this one? I mean, by the way, I once predicted a running back would run for 200, and he did.
Wasn't it Adrian Peterson?
Adrian Peterson, yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, no, Barkley's going for 250, and that's legitimately in play for him here. As long as the Panthers keep this game remotely close, like within a couple touchdowns, seriously, I think he could go for 200. Right. John, you nailed Adam Thielen last week. This is by far not a great matchup for him, but it's easier for him, way easier for him than say Xavier Legette or David Moore. Eagles are just erasing outside receivers. Yeah. They're like league average against slot options. So if you have Thielen, I'm into him. I kind of align more with Brett about Devonta Smith. I've gone back and forth on this all week too. It's an amazing matchup. He might only need 4 targets to get 60 yards and a touchdown, but that might be all he gets.
I know. I mean, that's the problem with this year in a lot of ways. A very, very small margin for error, man. We got to take advantage of. We're getting 5 to 6 targets. Yep. We got to turn that shit into 86 yards.
I mean, John, they've turned this offense into in terms of volume. It's like what Justin Fields was doing last year. I mean, Hurts is at 21.5 pass attempts per game. That's Justin Fields 2023-esque. I mean,
I'm sure it's smart,
but
they've had one game with a positive pass rate over expectation. Yeah. One game.
Is that
we're losing it?
do you view that as anything close to an indictment on Hurts? I kind of do.
I don't. I just think Saquon's an awesome player. They have an awesome offensive line. It's their identity, and their defense is way better now too. They can run the ball. They can
Lions
lean
get
on
these
it.
ruts too. I mean, there was like a 4-game stretch where Goff threw like 18 passes in every game. So,
well, I mean, what are they going to do though if they play the Lions in Detroit and JMO slips by him for a long tutty, and then Gibbs, and then all of a sudden they're down 21-0. They're done.
That's a legitimate concern. Them playing from behind. We haven't seen them do it in like 30 games, literally. Like they haven't done it well. So, that's a concern for sure.
I would predict the Lions will win that game because I mean, maybe I'm a little Philly hater because I live a little too close to it for too long, and they are playing well overall. But it seems to me like things might go a little different once you're in the postseason here. I don't know. It just I don't believe that they're this good, like, because they kind of looked pretty bad before. But hey, I could be a hater. Do we have any hope for anyone else here for Carolina? I mean, Graham, where do you do with the backfield here? I am avoiding that puppy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Hubbard's not like a full fade just because, I mean, he does have the goal line role, but the Eagles have given up no touchdowns basically all year, league low in touchdowns per game to backfields. He did run more routes than Brooks last week, but no targets. He's basically kind of settled into like a touchdown or bust running back too. And the Panthers have the lowest implied total on this slate, even lower than the Mac Jones led Jaguars. So scary week for Hubbard. This is like the worst spot he's had by far all year.
Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here are the week 14 edition of Matchup Points, the live stream at FantasyPoints.com. That's my dog Wrigley barking in the background. I'm John Hansen, Graham Barfield, and Brett Whitefield, and Tommy Canada Field. We'll call him Tommy Canada Field here on Thursdays. Canadian Field forever. Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about this one 2 weeks ago. Jameis Winston, it was like 215 scoreless yards, had the rushing touchdown. Tillman was concussed. Jerry Jeudy did very well. I don't know. I feel like overall, I think it'll be a little tougher, Brett, for Cleveland here. Never know, divisional opponent, but it's in Pittsburgh for one. Any thoughts? Anything change from the last matchup 2 freaking weeks ago? I mean, Njoku, I don't see how you're sitting him, but anything pop out to you for Cleveland?
Yeah, I think Cleveland's offense is gelling a little bit. I mean, I think they're playing well. Jameis, he's back to YOLO ball Jameis, where it's like, hey, it's going to be a turnover or a big play. I don't really care. And the guy cracks me up, by the way. He's hilarious. But
yeah, he is.
Judy's balling right now. He's going to, draw the Joey Porter Jr. shadow here. And I don't know. I think both these offenses actually are playing better than the last time they played. So it could be a little bit higher scoring game. Pittsburgh's defense has just been so steady all year. It's kind of hard to imagine that pass game continuing for the Browns.
I mean, honestly, off the top of both of your heads, can you name a wide receiver who has been as unstoppable as Jerry Jeudy the last month? I mean, maybe Nico, maybe Mike Evans the last couple of weeks, maybe Chase Brown. I mean, I think he's like top 5 right now.
Jeudy is. I mean, Chase is probably the most unstoppable receiver. Not probably, he definitely is. But it's not just like he's playing well. The volume is amazing. I mean, since week 8, since they made Winston the starter, only Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, and then both Bengals receivers have more targets per game than Jeudy. It's unbelievable. He is flaming.
It's like, here we go, man. I'm gonna line up. Just stop me. Stop me. And no one is.
Yeah. Well, Pat Surtain did last week when he was lined up against Surtain. He got shut down, but basically every route he didn't run against Surtain, he was just getting wide open. I will say schematically, yeah, sure. Joey Porter Jr., he's awesome. Don't need to say too much more about that, but Jeudy is averaging 3.3 yards per route run against single high coverages with Winston. And the Steelers are like stubborn as hell. They do not play too high at all. No. So, if they do find a way to get Jeudy off of Porter and they play some single high and he gets the right look, man. I mean, I still think Judy's must start. And Brett, I think you kind of alluded to it too. This game total makes no sense to me. It's 43.5. Basically, since the Browns made Winston their starter, their games are averaging 51 combined points per game. Pittsburgh's offense has been better as of late too. They're top 5 in scores per possession. There's no weather concerns in this game. 43.5 is like at least 2 to 3 points too low, in my opinion.
My theory would be that they're expecting the Steelers to play. They're going to get Highsmith back, right? They're expecting the Steelers to play a little bit better at home, and they're probably expecting Najee Harris and the Steelers to run all over them because it was a good schematic 2 weeks ago for Najee. I don't know what the hell happened. It was did somebody put a 10-pound ankle weights on both of his ankles because it didn't look great. But I think we go back to Najee again this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Najee still looks good. Browns have been awful against zone runs, right? And Najee is zone hammer in the Pittsburgh run scheme. So I think they go right back to it. Didn't work out 2 weeks ago, but the schematics say it should. Steelers starting to get a little healthy on the O-line too, which is good. So
this is the time of the year when they kind of come together every freaking year. The last couple of years, I know it's a young group and all that. I also lost the George Pickens prop in this one, but I'm back again. I mean, I'm not sure I'm going to play the prop, but I like George again here with the good schematic rate. A good schematic matchup here. Did have a touchdown in that snow globe game where they were just off. Graham, any thoughts on Georgie?
Yeah, last week was a little weird of a game plan. Like, obviously the Steelers won the game, but their game plan was a little weird. Obviously, they came out and got some screens to Najee. They got Pat Freiermuth involved. He had a season-high target share at 18%.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I like this game to shoot out. I mean, really, like, Browns defense, besides Myles Garrett, who's, all-world player, like, they're not a good unit. Denzel Ward struggled all year.
Yeah.
Played a little better last week, but this is a great spot for Pickens for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the Browns' pass defense is getting worse and worse.
They're not good.
A lot of these weird split coverages where they have like a Meg player, man everywhere you go, and then zone across the board. That has not worked out well for them. Sutton absolutely torched those looks last week when Emerson or Ward was in man against him. So if you're getting torched by Cortland Sutton,
was that those crossing routes?
Yeah,
some of them were crossed. They were just giving anytime they saw that man tag from Emerson or Ward, they just audible to a line check and basically had a runaway for Sutton or for whoever. So.
Thanks, guys. I won that prop because of that. And the Browns have allowed the second most receiving yards on throws, traveling 20-plus yards downfield. Emerson, I think, has been worse than Ward. Yeah, and not a great spot here for Freiermuth. Back to the Browns real quick. Anyone care to opine on like Elijah Moore versus like Tillman? I guess there's a chance that they put Porter on Tillman a little bit, or Porter sees Tillman.
So I think Tillman is going to sit, unfortunately.
Oh, is he going to sit?
Yeah, he hasn't cleared concussion protocol, didn't practice again today.
Okay.
So if he's out, it like locks in the Porter Jr. shadow on Judy.
Right.
And I like Elijah Moore even more, actually. His average depth of target with Winston is 12 yards downfield. It was 5 with Watson, just completely unlocked him. Targets have been good too, at least 17% in 5 straight. So I like Moore.
That might be Ken Dorsey, by the way.
Yeah, it's Watson's arm was shot.
But Elijah was doing this crap with Flacco last year too, I recall.
They are getting him deeper downfield, but Winston's like actually capable and willing to actually throw in some tight coverage.
True. Yeah. Hey. So, it's always nice when one of our previous guys, shit the bed for us. But at the very least, it's somebody, that's why they liked him.
Honestly, the Browns have a team full of those dudes, John. Njoku, Moore, and Judy.
Oh, yeah.
Judy's probably the biggest one for me. I still love Jerry Judy, but I love him.
Yeah, I love Njoku too, and Judy, and Moore. I think I might have liked Moore the most, honestly. I loved Moore. Maybe it was the hydrant trick there in the end zone. That was hysterical. Let's move on to Raiders Bucks. Hey, Aiden O'Connell, 1 game aberration. I would say, Brett, that this is a pretty good matchup. for Aiden O'Connell. Any thought? I picked him up in the FPI because I got Purdy. I'm thinking about starting Aiden O'Connell over Purdy, unless you could seriously talk me out of it. But what'd you see there last week?
Yeah, he looks good. I thought he should have been the starter the whole year. I thought he played well enough last year to win that job. I couldn't believe they went with Minshew. Yeah, it's a good matchup for him. Tampa Bay's defense obviously struggled all year. They've gotten torched for 400 plus multiple times. I also think for Brock Bowers, this is great. Last 5 weeks, Tampa's been bad against tight ends, especially tight ends that don't always play in line, split, go out wide. Bowers should get a lot of favorable matchups here.
Yep. Bucks have been a big underneath funnel, allowing the most schedule adjusted points to quarterbacks, fourth most to wide receivers, and and the seventh most to tight ends. So, I mean, Jacoby Myers, I mean, he's balling. I mean, Jacoby Myers is easily the most, I'm going to say it. He's the most underrated receiver in football.
He has been all year. He's been like a borderline wide receiver 1 on volume all year. Really, really good player. And we were saying this, I think, in week 2, guys. We were like, why isn't Aiden O'Connell starting? We saw one start of Gardner Minshew, and we're like, this should be O'Connell. Threw for 340. It's like the first time a Raider quarterback has thrown for over 330 yards since Derek Carr was the quarterback. Actually, I think Jarrett Stidham did it once.
Yeah,
once. 2022. But basically, they haven't done that since Carr. He's playing really well against the blitz, too. That's really important. This week, Tampa blitzes 43% of the time. That's most often. It's a tiny sample, John, but 31 dropbacks against the blitz. He's completed 67% of his throws, 9.5 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he looks comfortable. He looks the part. Ball's out quick. It's in the right spot. Like, I have no clue what they were doing playing Minshew for that long. But it's great for Jacoby, and it's especially great for Brock Bowers.
And both of those guys, our data shows like they do well against the blitz. I mean, who else the hell are you throwing it to? Freaking Trey Tucker. Although I actually picked up Trey Tucker in that FPI league. That's how many receiver injuries I've suffered, and I got Douglas off this week. We are not talking about the running game for the Raiders because they don't have one. And it sincere McCormick. No, how about disingenuous McCormick? Okay, don't even consider anyone in this backfield. So moving on to Tampa. Hey, I mean, Mike Evans, I talk with our guy, Dr. Edwin Porras on the VSiN show. And I'm like, dude missed a month with a hamstring. He's over 30, chronic hamstring guy, missed practice this week. Don't care. And he's like, agreed. Like, you got to roll with Big Mike here. I mean, he's crushing. Anything else? Sterling Shepard. Not too, Otten, right?
Yeah.
Raiders are the worst defense against tight ends over the last 5, plus 13.1 schedule adjusted fantasy points.
Dude, they're allowing 100 yards per game to tight ends over the last 5 weeks. I've never seen that before, ever.
League average is what, like 35?
Yeah, it's like 45 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been eyeballing this matchup for a while, but he has been quite rotten. I think at this point, like, he might need this pristine matchup when Big Mike's there. Is that fair, or is that not a large enough sample size? Because this has not been the same guy that we fell in love with, in October, November, where my man's getting like 11 targets, obviously.
Yeah, he got 7 last week. Evans will definitely open things up in the middle, but this is an amazing matchup for him.
And hey, I mean, Bucky Irving, dude is the man. I mean, he is awesome, and they've got a pretty good feel for Rashad's contributing a little bit. He's taking the back seat, but last week they didn't need him, which we all thought. I don't know if they'll need him here against the Raiders in terms of playing from behind. Let's move on. Jacksonville, Tennessee. Here we go. Graham, you've got MVS or NWI. Which airport are you flying out of?
Option number 3, we'll go to YYZ. We'll go to a Rush song. No, I'm playing, man, NWI, I think. Just okay. Jags are so bad. God, they're so bad. This game could be a little closer too. I think Saints kind of roll the Giants. This is the ugliest game of the week, but
I love it.
I mean,
I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about it too because I want to see Jags play a bunch of man coverage against,
Calvin.
Will Levis, because Levis is going to chuck it. Yeah, Calvin Ridley, 18-yard average depth of target with Levis under center. One big note for this game, seriously though, is Tyson Campbell's health. If the Jags don't have Tyson Campbell, they are going to play a ton of zone. But they've been ripping the man coverage, John, the last couple of weeks, 60%, 42% last couple of weeks, and Ridley's top 5 in yards per route run, top 3 in targets per route run facing man. Yeah, it's just an amazing spot for Ridley. And yeah, sure, NWI, like the touchdowns are super fluky. He scored 7 in his last 8.
7 of 8.
But yeah, targets have come up 16% or more in 4 of his last 5. So there's some serious merit for him this week.
And Brett, I'm pretty damn high on Tony Pollard this week. I mean, he's had a great year. And our guy Spears, hey, I'll take an L on Tajay Spears all day long. I do not care. I mean, I care that he wish it would have done well, but I don't care because I'll back that dude. But Pollard's been good and good matchup here. Man concept runs, they're bad. So I love me some Pollard.
Jags don't do anything well on defense. So
Right.
if you have someone against the Jags, just play him. Whether it's receivers, tight ends, running backs, run game, pass, doesn't matter. I love Pollard this game. I love Calvin Ridley too. I talked about him on your Veasan show yesterday. His over-under is just 63.5. Since over the last 5 games, he's got a 27% target share, which is top 10 in the league. And then let's see, the Jags are giving up 142.5 yards per game to receivers on the outside.
The most schedule adjusted points too.
Yep. On the other side, I love Brian Thomas Jr. His over-under, his prop, guys, is so low.
Yeah.
56.5 for a guy who can do that in one play is nuts against a secondary that's awful. So I don't know. I'm all in on both these guys. I'm playing both props, Ridley and Thomas here.
The only downside data wise was the too high stuff because he's not great against that.
That's a Trevor Lawrence issue though. Now he's got McCorkle Jones, who does not give a crap. He's throwing it no matter what.
All right.
McCorkle, let's go.
I love me some McCorkle.
Hey, he played really well in relief last week. That was by far the most comfortable he's looked. Got Parker Washington going a little bit too, but yeah, I love the BTJ shout for sure.
I actually picked up Parker Washington and started him in the FPI.
You made someone very mad.
With Lawrence.
Oh, wow.
But he got hurt. Yeah. Titans have been a perimeter funnel of late, by the way. Brett, what do you think? I opined when full disclosure, I never said Mac Jones was a stud, but I was enamored with Mac Jones when he came out. I was working with Charlie Weiss that year. So, I mean, I'm doing a 3-hour show once a week with the freaking Brady's OC, and I'm like, am I crazy? Because I remember Brady, his first 3 or 4 games. I filed it away in the back of my brain in case I needed to access it. And I'm like, I think he's just as good as Brady in his rookie year. And Charlie goes, he's better. I'm like, wow. Okay. So I thought when Trevor Lawrence went down, and I thought it was like not losing all that much. Is that harsh?
No, I don't think that's harsh. Lawrence hasn't lived up to the hype. Mac has been disappointing, but gosh, I think after Mac's first 8 games that year, I went on my podcast and made a case for him to be the MVP that year as a rookie.
Yeah. Oh, I was with you.
So
he was awesome.
I think he got Matt Patricia is the reality of the situation.
Oh, totally.
He failed to support him in any significant way, shape, or form. Now, I don't think he's going to unseat Trevor Lawrence anytime soon. Sure. But to your point, I think he can run this offense, and he's clearly playing with more confidence than he had in New England. So,
yeah, no doubt about it. Oh, you know what? By the way, for what it's worth, I thought ETN finally looked pretty good last week. For what it's worth, it's not a good matchup, I guess. Although, what the hell happened to the Titans' run defense last week?
I don't know.
I just mentioned that Sweat dude, and they got run all over. I'm like, what the hell? First carry for Brian Robinson, that was crazy. I mean, it was blocked up really well, I guess.
Yeah, man, when stuff like that happens on a 3-9 team, you wonder if guys are just starting to check out because they've been an impenetrable wall the entire season.
Yeah,
and then they got 270 yards run down their throat. mean, just ridiculous. Like that
game got out of hand so fast too. I mean, that game just got completely out of hand. I will say Devondre Sweat is hurt too. He's been nursing a shoulder injury, I think.
He's playing, right? Playing through it?
Yeah, he's gonna. I think he's gonna play this week. He played last week too, but he is hurt.
All right, let's head on over to Seattle at Arizona. These teams met not that long ago, and as I said on SiriusXM today, I'm playing in this FPI. I'm in the playoffs. I've been a DK Metcalf hater from the beginning, and I have played him in the playoffs, and he absolutely murders me. 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, made it to the 14-team championship, and DK dropped 3 tutties on my ass and killed me. I actually went back and looked at every time I played against him. He went off every single time. So I'm in on the prop. It's actually a pretty good matchup. Hey, I'll do anything to be right, whatever it takes. But yeah, and JSN went off in this one. Cardinals are a slot funnel, having allowed the 7th most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game in opposing slots, fewest to the outside. I know we have some pretty good data on DK. Any thoughts here, Brett, on Seattle's offense? Arizona's defense is overall, I think, improved. But like people ask me, like, "Oh, what's up with Seattle?" I think it's just Geno. I don't think is good. I mean, he hasn't been good this year.
That's what I was getting ready to say. That where I am with this offense right now is about where I was at the Packers 2 weeks ago. It's like I'm tired of trying to predict it. God, I hate it.
Right.
Geno's so inconsistent. But one thing worth noting is since DK has come back, JSN's target share has fallen off a cliff. 19% in week 12, 13% week 13. Those aren't good numbers. I know that Cardinals are a slot funnel. Maybe it comes back. I think did they play week 11? Was it?
It was week 12.
That was about right.
Yeah.
It was week 12?
I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago because I played a James Conner prop and he ran for 4 inches.
So he produced
he had 8 carries for 7 yards or something like that. Yeah.
So he produced a lot on a 19% target share then, because I think he led the game in receiving yards for the Seahawks. But anyways, that's something a little concerning. So
yeah, and I don't know what the hell to think about. By the way, speaking of James Conner, I mean, he runs on these man gap concepts, and the Seahawks have been bad there, but they're improving. Brett, I'll go back to you. They are improving, right? Seattle, like that wasn't just a 1-game fluke. It feels like that defense is coming around.
They've slowly been getting their guys back on the D-line all year. They started this, I think, against Detroit. Was that week 5? They were down 6 of their top 7 D linemen or something like that. They've slowly been getting those guys
Rick
back.
Woolen got hurt. Yeah,
and then Rick Woolen got hurt. So as they've been adding back to the defense, it's definitely gotten better. I mean, they were actually, that defense was awesome against the Cardinals last time they played. So
yeah. Well, Graham, you're the Kyler Murray. I don't know. The decoder. I don't know. What do you think about Kyler this week?
I have been pretty good with Kyler this year. I think I got him right in that Rams game. I think I got him right in that Miami game. I'm out again this week.
Okay, good.
Yeah, see, just for all the reasons we've been lining up. Yeah, Kyler decoder, the Da Vinci Code on Kyler Murray. I think it's a better spot than last week. Seahawks will keep this game close. It's got a little bit of shootout appeal, but yeah, last 5 games, man, Seahawks have allowed 6.3 yards per pass attempt. That's 3rd fewest, a league low completion rate under expectation at -6%. Love Trey McBride, but man, it's hard to get there with this offense with Kyler just being so up and down, and it's a run based offense.
John Gannon's a boob.
He kind of looks like a poser a little bit.
Dude. That end of game management last week, it's been bad across the league, but that was awful.
I wanted to throw myself off a bridge watching that game. I was very frustrated that happened. And I don't have any rooting interest in either team. I'm just like, come on.
Yeah.
What are we doing, John?
That was the definition of playing not to win.
Yeah. Yes.
You were just aggravated on general principle watching that puppy. Well, real quick, any thoughts on Ken Walker and that side of things? Because he's fallen off a little bit, and the O-line doesn't generate much up front.
He has.
Go ahead.
I think the volume's been so good though. Like by XFP, he's RB13 since week 8. just running cold. And obviously Charbonnet got the goal line carry last week. This is a tough matchup, though. Cardinals have been really good up front against the run as of late. And, I mean, Seahawks really have one good offensive lineman. I mean, they've just been struggling to open up things all season. But I still think the volume is strong for Walker. He has not lost the job.
All right, let's go to Buffalo and the LA Rams. As we've outlined probably every week on this live stream, the Rams not great on the outside, very good inside, the scheme and all that. So not a Khalil Shakir game per se, but then again, the Rams show up and make it a shootout. He could get 11 targets and catch 8 balls. But Brett and I've been on this for about 2 weeks in my 3 weeks, maybe trade for article. I just looked at Amari Cooper like value in the dirt, like no one really cares yet. They got him for a reason. And I think I look into the schedule. I'm like, these are Amari Cooper type of games. And like this one, Brett, right? I mean, this was the first one of, I think Detroit's in there too, by the way.
Yep, for sure. This is a great matchup for him. He was a 70% snap share last week in the first half before that game got out of whack. So I think he's fully integrated into the offense and should be ready to rock. Rams have no one that can cover him. I don't care if they're playing man or zone. Doesn't matter. Cooper will beat them. I love it. I also want to note Buffalo, I think they're starting to sharpen their playoff sword here. They started as a really run-heavy team, and they've fully transitioned to pass-heavy. I think their last 5 legitimate games, I don't count the snow game because that was a joke, but the 5 games before that, way high pass rate over expectation, like getting 14, 15%. So I think they're trying to make sure that part of their offense is ready to go come playoff time, so they don't have another Chiefs situation from the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Graham, they did that without their dudes. They did that without Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper. Dalton Kincaid should be back this week, so I like that call quite a bit. Rams have been really game script dependent, and what I mean by that is like Stafford is basically like only Jameis Winston is averaging more pass attempts per game when the Rams lose, but he's like I don't know, bottom 5, bottom 10 in volume when they win in their 6 wins. This to me screams Stafford's pass attempts get back. I think Bills just roll them. They're 5.5 point favorites, but I think Bills are just the significantly stronger side, especially since they're going to get all the receivers back this week. It seems like. Brett, I've been wanting to ask you what you've seen from Cooper Kupp. What'd you see last week?
He's looking kind of busted.
Yeah.
No explosiveness. The routes don't look super crispy. You look like watch him when he gets tackled too. He's not hopping up like he used to. He always has to make sure he stood up really fast, kind of give you a little flex. Not seeing any of that energy from him. I wonder if he's a little banged up. I don't think he's listed with anything, but he's always kind of banged up. So
no, I mean he's 30 plus. Those issues from the waist down are only going to get worse, man. I mean. That's it. It's the first thing to go. The legs. Hello. I mean, so it's not great. But probably works out for Puka. You watch Puka and you think to yourself, like, why don't they just throw this guy 19 balls every single week? You know what I mean? I mean, he'd get hurt, but still.
They kind of do. I mean,
they kind of do.
He's leading all receivers in targets per route run by far, by I think 3 or 4% over Malik.
Pretty
Neighbors.
Ridiculous.
His target share is top 10 too since he's been back. So he's a monster.
Yeah, then Kyron Williams, of course, should be more than fine.
Matchup for him, actually. But
really
Bills
good.
really struggled against the run, so
you know what?
They don't even care to do well against the run, to be honest with you.
There was another running back that you liked that I missed. Hold on a second. I'm going to back up just a second. Maybe. Now I'm going to lose it, but I could have sworn there was another running back that I wanted to get your thoughts on. Who is? The game we're doing right now. Duh. James Cook. Yeah. Go ahead.
I like both their props. 64.5 for Cook, I think, and then 16.5 for Ray Davis. So I like both those. Rams stink against the run. They we've gone over it in detail already, but they play this penetrating style front. There's a ton of misassignments. They get upfield too fast. They get trapped and whatever. So I think Ray's 16.5 seems safe, even though he's an RB2.
Sure.
And then, Cook can eat. He's been great this season. So
he's been great, man. People ask me like, what do you think of this James Cook? I'm like, we already know what it's going to be like. What do you mean? He's a clone of his brother. He's going to be smaller, less physical, and faster.
Yep.
That's exactly what he is. I mean, I stood next to this guy. I'm like, oh my, and I've talked to Dalvin too. I'm like, that's his clone. I mean, it's unbelievable. Anyway, Chicago at San Fran. I mean, Graham, help me out here because number one, I've got Brock Purdy. I'm thinking about starting Aiden O'Connell over him, and not the greatest matchup. I mean, you would think Debo, but I don't know.
Debo's not healthy. Brett told us a couple weeks ago. I mean, he is not remotely close to the same player. This is a lot like the 2022 season where he just dealt with a slew of injuries. Yeah, Brock Purdy's also not healthy too. I mean, you saw it last week. Trent Williams dealing with his ankle injury. They don't have Aaron Banks. Their entire left side of their offensive line is gone. And then, yeah, you mentioned it. Bears, I have quite a bit of respect for the secondary. I mean, they're limiting opposing quarterbacks, the second fewest passing fantasy points per game. I think you could tell yourself a story on O'Connell over Purdy, John. Just the matchup for O'Connell is great. He's at least healthy. I like Bears to win this game.
Wow.
And I like them to win this game for one main reason. If Nick Bosa doesn't play, the 49ers cannot pressure the quarterback. Their pressure rate is 16% over the last 2 weeks. It's a league low without Bosa, and I don't think Bosa practiced again today. I know that sounds like crazy, Chicago going into San Francisco, especially given where we were. But
the staff picks, I picked Chicago to win this game too, so I'm right there with you. Yeah,
nice.
I think I did too. I'm pretty sure I did. I'm gonna have to look that up. But Brett, give us your thoughts on Caleb. I mean, tale of two halves, that's for sure.
Well, it's hard to get in a rhythm when you go 3 and out 3 drives in a row.
Yeah,
they didn't get their first ugly until a minute left in the first half.
Yeah, true.
That's and it wasn't all on him. They couldn't get the run game going. I think he did miss a throw here or there, but ultimately this is a good game plan. So
he did throw a couple lasers.
Oh, in the second half, he was dialed in. I mean,
yeah.
From my chair, that was a very stressful second half, guys. I was like,
okay, good.
Yeah. He looked good. He didn't take any. The first ridiculous sack he took was on the final drive, unfortunately for him, because that's when he needed to not take.
But speaking of sacks, I did not have one big enough to take the Bears. By the way, I did take the Lions. Yeah. But we got Swifty hurt too. I think that's why I didn't do it, Graham.
Yeah, Swift is hurt. DJ Moore's got a quad issue.
And watch
there.
I mean, they're all a little banged up.
Yeah.
Travis Homer, then is that the guy?
Yeah, it would be Travis Homer because Roshan's hurt too, man. Oh man,
Herbert.
That would be honestly great for Caleb in fantasy. I mean, they would just completely ditch the run game.
Yeah.
They've kind of ditched it regardless, but
yeah, that's a great point. All right, very not easy to predict Cole Kmet, so I'm not even going to try. LA Chargers at KC Chiefs. It has been easy. Not last week to predict Will Dissly, but the guy got one damn target. I mean, come on. And it was at his feet, by the way, in the red zone. He was open. But
it was a touchdown.
Yeah,
it was a touchdown.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Pissed me off. But Kansas City, they just hand it out now, man. Look at Bowers last week. So I like this. Ladd, did he work today?
He was limited yesterday. There was a report from Rap Sheet that said he's like in question or in jeopardy or whatever, but then he practiced limited, so he should be okay.
Right. All right. Well,
Chiefs defense. I wanted to ask Brett about this. What's going on with Chiefs defense? They have fallen off.
We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah. I've been sounding the alarm bell since week 6 probably.
Yeah.
So they have obviously they have the Trent McDuffie corner spot. The other 2 spots it's a rotation of 3 guys: Jalen Watson, Connor, and Darius Robinson, I believe, 7th round pick last year. Those guys all stink. These are probably the worst corners Spags has ever had to deal with. They get cooked on the reg. The safety situation hasn't been great either, and they don't get any pressure. Their pass rush is awful.
Yeah.
Chris Jones.
Where's Karlaftis been?
It's all Chris Jones.
Karlaftis hasn't seemed to be much of a factor.
He has not been good. They traded for the New England guy, Uche. Right?
Yeah, Uche. Yeah.
He's barely playing. He's getting like 3-4 snaps a game.
Snooche Uche.
Yeah, Karl Loftus was coming on nice at the end of last year, but he's been quiet. I think this is a good bounce back spot for Herbert. He did not play well at all last week. Besides the McConkey stuff, he held the ball too long. It was not Herbert's best game, but Chiefs have regressed, as Brett was saying, and they do not have a run game. They cannot run the ball, and the Chiefs are
lights out.
Besides the Lions, they're the best run defense in the NFL right now.
Yep. One of these more logic and gut calls, but I kind of like Josh Palmer to maybe do some down. I could see him catching like 5, although I guess based on the schematics, he might see the most of freaking McDuffie. But although maybe if Ladd plays, if they're going to travel McDuffie at all, maybe they'll do that. But yeah, anyway, for what it's worth, I think Palmer's, like 8 to 10 points if you're desperate. I'm not backing Quentin Johnston. I just can't do it now. I mean, after the last couple weeks, and we're not showing it to be a good schematic. Finally, the Bengals and the Cowboys. I tried to get in under 60 minutes, but we'll be close. Bengal defense stinks. I don't know about CD, but I'll tell you what, I'm not afraid to start Jake Ferguson, Graham, in this one.
I've been wanting to ask you about Ferg this week. So you're in on it this week? Okay.
I don't think he's going to lose his job because he got concussed. You know what I mean? Like McCarthy's not like that.
Yeah, he's not. And it's not like Schoonmaker had the touchdown, but he's not been anything fantastic. It's a really good spot for him for sure. Yeah. This game obviously has huge shootout appeal. I can get with you on Ferguson. Shout out to Brett for the Rico call last week. I don't think Bengals run defense is very good at all. They're not as near as it's not as great of a spot as last week. Giants have the worst run defense in the league, but it's pretty good again for Rico again, right, Brett?
Yeah, Bengals have been a bottom 5 run defense the last 6 games. So
yeah,
it's a good matchup. Bengals are one of these teams that they're just not really doing anything well on defense other than Trey Hendrickson. He can ruin any play, but if he's not ruining that play, you're probably getting a big chunk of yards. So
I said Cam Taylor Britt heard us talking shit about him last week. I think
he did
make a play.
Well, he did play bad mostly, but he did have the long pick 6. So
yeah, I thought about that immediately when I saw that jersey. I was like, oh damn it!
Completely got away with DPI on that play.
Oh, did he? I didn't see that.
You got to watch Hard Knocks.
Okay.
With Pickens. Pickens was losing his mind on the sideline.
Okay. I did see Pickens losing his mind. I didn't know that's what it was about. That's funny.
Oh, yeah. Cam Taylor Britt just grabbed him by the back of the jersey and threw him on the ground. And then caught the ball and returned it for a touchdown.
I didn't see that.
I thought Pickens was going to kill somebody. Legitimately.
Yeah. He is I always use that word bombastic. I mean, he is
a hothead.
He is a hot head, but I love that. In a good way though. I'm telling you, like when I interviewed him, he was so proud of the fact that he came back to play in that championship game, right? Because that was like a gruesome injury. Like he's the real deal. He's kind of been that way, a little volatile, but I think we're good here. We're not getting sucked into Gesicki, right? Less desperate. I don't trust that.
No.
Especially
if you're not on him, John. I'm definitely not on him.
Well, that'll wrap it up here. And we did get out a little earlier than usual. We want to be able to actually sit down and watch the game. I have to go take a long drive, and I will be listening to a lot of the game on the radio. We thank you for tuning in here. Good luck to everybody in the final week of the regular season. Thank you to our guy Tommy T-Bone. For Brett Whitefield and Graham Barfield, I'm John Hansen Field. We'll catch you next week here at FantasyPoints.com.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.